Chapter 3, Ruling the Countryside, Notes and Summary, from Class 8, Subject Social Science, History, Book Our Past 3. Introduction. After the Battle of Plassey 1757 and Buxar 1764, the British East India Company became politically dominant. In 1765, the Mughal Emperor granted the company Diwani rights, right to collect revenue for Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. The company now had to administer land, organize revenue and ensure agricultural production to finance trade and administration. The company becomes the Diwan. On 12th August 1765, East India Company became the Diwan of Bengal. Robert Clive received this title from the Mughal Emperor. The company as Diwan became the chief financial administrator. It had to collect revenue and ensure enough income for its expenses. Next, revenue for the company. The company still thought of itself as a trading body, not a ruler. It tried to maximize revenue and buy Indian goods cheaply. Within 5 years, company's purchases doubled. Earlier, gold and silver were imported from Britain for trade, but now Bengal's revenue financed exports. Result, Bengal's economy collapsed, peasants burdened, artisans forced to sell cheap, desertion of villages, famine of 1770 killed 10 million people. The need to improve agriculture crisis forced the company to look for ways to improve agriculture. In 1793, it introduced the permanent settlement. Zamindars recognized as landowners, they had to pay a fixed revenue to the company. Belief, Zamindars would invest in land improvement since profits from increased production would be theirs. The problem, reality, revenue demand was too high. Zamindars often defaulted, estates auctioned. Even when cultivation expanded, company gained nothing since revenue was fixed. Many zamindars didn't invest in land, they just collected rent from tenants. Cultivators were heavily taxed, insecure, often evicted, and in debt to money lenders. Colebrook on Bengal Ryots. H.T. Colebrook, 1806, described under tenants suffering from excessive rents, debt traps, low subsistence, no hope of betterment. A new system is devised, Mahalwari system. Introduced by Holt Mackenzie, 1822, in northwest provinces, UP region. Revenue demand was calculated for each village mahal. Responsibility to pay given to village headmen, not zamindars. Revenue demand revised periodically. The Munro system, Ryotwari settlement. Introduced in South India by Captain Reed and Thomas Munro. Settlement made directly with cultivators, Ryots, not zamindars. Each field measured, revenue fixed. British officials acted like paternal fathers to Ryots. All was not well. Revenue demands were too high. Peasants failed to pay, fled villages, countryside deserted. Hoped for prosperity of peasants did not happen. Crops for Europe. British wanted India to produce commercial crops. Indigo, opium, 18th century. Later, jute, tea, sugarcane, wheat, cotton, rice. Does color have a history? Indigo dye, blue color, came from the indigo plant, widely used in Europe for textiles. India was the largest supplier in the world. Why the demand for Indian indigo? Europeans earlier used woad, a dull blue dye. Indigo gave a richer color. With industrialization, demand for indigo soared. Decline of supplies from West Indies and America due to revolts, slavery abolition. By early 19th century, India became main supplier. Britain turns to India. By 1810, 95% of indigo in Britain came from India. Company officials and private planters invested in indigo plantations. How was indigo cultivated? Two systems. First, Nij Cultivation. Planters cultivated on their own lands with hired labor. Second, Ryotwari system. Planters forced Ryots to sign contracts to grow indigo on part of their land. The problem with Nij cultivation: fertile lands already occupied by peasants for rice, labor difficult to obtain, peasants busy with rice, huge investment in plugs and bullocks required, less than 25% of indigo grown this way. Indigo on the land of Ryots. Planters gave cash advances, satta, to Ryots. Ryots had to grow indigo on at least 25% of land. Planters provided seeds, but peasants bore all other costs. Indigo exhausted soil, land unfit for rice. Prices paid were very low. Peasants trapped in debt cycle. How was indigo produced? Process done in factories with vats. First, indigo leaves soaked in fermenting vat. Second, liquid drained into beater vat, stirred till color changed. Third, lime added, indigo separated out. Fourth, indigo pulp dried and cut into cakes. The Blue Rebellion and after. 1859, Ryots of Bengal refused to cultivate indigo. Rebels attacked factories, boycotted planters' agents, refused advances. Women also joined resistance. Supported by zamindars and village headmen, Ryots hoped British government would support them. Government set up Indigo Commission 1860. Declared indigo cultivation was unprofitable for Ryots. Ryots could refuse future contracts. Indigo cultivation collapsed in Bengal, shifted to Bihar. With synthetic dyes, late 19th century, indigo declined further. A song from an indigo-producing village. Folk songs expressed peasants' anger and resistance. Example, a song from Bengal celebrating peasants' fight against planters. Lathials, strong men. Summary: in 1765, the East India Company became Diwan of Bengal, controlling land revenue. The company exploited revenue collection, causing famine and rural distress. Permanent settlement 1793 and later Mahalwari and Ryotwari systems were introduced, but peasants still suffered due to high demands. British forced peasants to grow commercial crops, especially indigo, which was in high demand in Europe. Indigo cultivation was exploitative. Peasants trapped in contracts and debt. The oppressive system led to the Blue Rebellion 1859, forcing the government to admit its failure. Indigo production declined after synthetic dyes were discovered. The chapter shows how colonial rule reshaped Indian agriculture to serve British economic interest, leaving peasants impoverished. So friends, we have completed notes and summary of chapter 3, ruling the countryside. We have already studied the question answers of this chapter. You can find the link in the description and on the screen. If you like the video, kindly like, hype the video and share it with your friends. Also subscribe to my channel for more such videos. We will meet in the next video. Thank you for watching.